Oh, hi. Welcome to today's Decay, where we celebrate births and beginnings of everything important since the dawn of time. And on this day, October 4th, what did we have going on? Throughout history, Louie. You don't know? I know. I'll let you know. Oh, so interesting. On this day in 1895, Buster Keaton was born. The old stone face. What an interesting person. He didn't own any of his own content, unlike Charlie Chaplin, who did. And so he wound up being like owned by the studios, even though all of his early stuff was like fully his own creation. And then a lot of what became really great Marx Brothers content, like especially Harpo, but the whole group, was actually like him behind the scenes coaching them and like, them borrowing shtick from his earlier movies, which is so frustrating. But I love Harpo and the Marx Brothers, so don't get me wrong, I'm not really talking badly about them. I just think Buster Keaton, I mean, all these people, almost all these people have really sad stories. Charlie Chaplin, while owned all his own stuff, had his own sad stories. But Buster Keaton definitely lost out if it's a then again, you've got many other silent comedians that haven't stood the test of time at all. So maybe it's better than nothing. What do you think? Is it better to stand the test of time and basically lived hand to mouth most of the second half of your life? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, there's so many other artists that spent their entire lives creating, and we will never remember them because they're just lost to time. So anyway, Buster Keaton, yeah, 1895. In a similar way, A Trip to the Moon premiered on this day, 1902. A Trip to the Moon, I always view as like the first sci-fi fantasy film out there, if not the first, the best of the earliest grouping. It probably isn't the first. I feel like the more you research, you find like something that came out first. But I love George Millet, and while I really enjoyed that Martin Scorsese's tribute to him, it's not real. He definitely died like penniless, and nobody cared about him. The end of it's wrong. I forgot that story. What was that name of that movie? Where it's like in the Paris rail yard or railway station. I don't know. I forget. Anyway, yeah, Trip to the Moon. Kind of the best thing ever, I think. And what a wild thing to consider. People that saw that, who thought it at the time it was utterly absurd and fanciful and something we were never going to do, if they lived long enough, like, into the ripe old age of whatever year, they might have actually seen Man Walk on the Moon on television. Or if not them, at least their kids. And like my grandfather always said, like, he thought it was so interesting that he lived from a time from seeing horse and buggies out on the street to man walking on the moon and the internet. Like, from a human history standpoint, when will we see such progress again in one lifespan? Never. On this day in 1928, Pete Mad Daddy Myers was born. I love the Mad Daddy. This was a radio DJ who played crazy rock and roll in Cleveland or in Ohio, who was a big influence on Lux Interior, obviously, and then eventually came to New York. And he was a big inspiration for our Phantom Creep Radio live events, when basically Phantom Creep Theater was our stage show, spook show. We would conjure ghosts on stage, and there was giant robots and puppets and things like that. And then Phantom Creep Radio were our characters who would take over the Midnight Monster Hop. So you'd have like monsters hosting a rock and roll radio show at a bar with bands, and it's free to get in, and very often it was random people who just happened to be there who didn't realize what they were walking into. So, it's pretty good. And we'd have celebrity guests or just listener call-ins from all over the world. And, people at the bar would again be like, what did we walk into? What did we walk into? I don't know, but we stopped doing that for the time being. Anyway, point is, big influence was the Mad Daddy, because he would just get on the air without even practicing and just like rant in these insane ways that stuns the mind. Yeah. Anyway, not a horror host exactly, but pretty damn close. I've always heard that he actually sold wingtip shoes in the middle of the country with like painted bats on them and like his name on it. I've never seen a photo of it. I don't know if it's, I feel like it's almost not true, because like if it's not a photo of it, who knows? But I love the concept. It's really good. And the Pits in Lancaster actually had wingtip shoes that they would paint into bats as well, which I wonder if they had read that somewhere and did that from that reason, or just, we all come from the same nonsense brain somewhere out in the cosmos. I don't know. What else? The Vampire Lovers premiered on this day, 1970. The film Female Trouble premiered on this day, 1974. And Pogue Mahone played their first show in 1982. That's right, the band that would later on become the Pogues started off as a band called Pogue Mahone, who grew out of basically watching the Rough House All-Stars play live. The Rough House All-Stars being a series of ex-Meteors members, Nigel Lewis, Mark Robertson, I believe Woody was in the band at one point, Slim from the Blubbery Hellbellies, who else, what else? People playing coconut shells, kazoos, and it was like a whole like, joke, drunken nonsense, Battle from the Stingrays, of course, a whole drunk nonsense, let's take roots music and just be as ridiculous as possible. And then these other guys, Shane McGowan and the rest of them, were like, well, yes, we love this, and we're going to do this in our own way. And because of that entry, that's why the Pogues, when they like rocketed to stardom, took the Toll Boys on tour with them for their first big tour, was because the Toll Boys, being also Mark Robertson and Nigel Lewis from the Meteors and Rough House All-Stars and everything, they were like, hey, let's bring you along because we're really appreciative of where we came from. So that's the story for today, October 4th. So what are you going to do? I don't know. I've given you very little time to figure it out, but hurry, 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 because you've got a couple of minutes left to go. And tomorrow, which by that I mean like in a couple of minutes, is still a mystery, but only for a moment. Goodbye.